man. Look at we get our butts handed to us all the time, which is amazing to me. This is what gets overlooked. Most professional fighters, everyone who doesn't know anything about them, thinks they like to go out in the streets and get in fights all the time. That's not it. It can be further from that. Actually, the more technical, the better you get at something, the less you want to do it out of an aggression thing, especially in this world. But talk about that ebb and flow of getting ready for a fight, then the immediate after. After it's over, it's like, right? I mean, that's a. Man, that has to change you every time you go into, like Jeremy, 100 fights, man, bro. I'm talking about like sanctioned pro ones, like where everyone was looking. That's hardcore.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I would be sitting in the locker room and talking about fear and anxiety. I would sit in the locker room, literally praying, like, God, just if you can make the lights go out tonight, that'd be awesome. And you walk out and then you fight. And when you're done, and I mean, the moment that first punch is thrown, whether it lands or not, it doesn't matter because all that fear and anxiety goes away because now you're in the moment doing what you do. But when that fight's over and your hand gets raised, you're just like immediately, man, let's do this again.
What is it?
Knowing that you're going to willingly just put yourself right back in this same vicious cycle.
That's amazing. That feeling, that's what I'm talking about. Like there's only one way you can get that feeling. And I couldn't imagine being a champion, like that belt. How about that? I watched it when you won the middleweight, man. I don't think the belt really changed anything because even when I was fighting at an amateur level, my first amateur fight, it was the most important fight of my career at the time. Okay, that's a great way to say that.
And then my second amateur fight at the time was the most important fight of my life, and so on and so forth. And it's not like you have this extra motivation, or at least I didn't, because at the end of the day, keep in mind, like if my worst critic is the man in the mirror, if I lose an amateur fight, I got to come home and tell myself, like, bro, how'd you drop the ball on that one? Like, that sucked, So it's like, that's just, every fight was important to me, and having the title, there was always something. And that's the one thing I didn't like about the fight game, right? Because I got into martial arts as to pursue excellence, to become good at a skill, like to just pursue this skill at a level of excellence. But eventually what ends up happening is you start focusing in on opponent, like rather than being good at something. Let me figure out how to beat this guy.
Those are different. That takes away from what martial arts. Martial arts is a lifestyle. Yeah, that's why you're always going back into it. Like to get into a fight. I mean, talk about that. Because my whole life, even from a boy, like in the 1900s, and we'd have to get up on Saturdays and watch the Black Dragon Theater, Kung Fu.
Kung Fu Theater on Sundays. That when we came home from church, man, me and my dad.
So good. YouTube might be one of the best inventions ever when it comes to finding those old relics.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll talk old martial arts movies with y'all freaking day, especially.
Now, like. I can't even remember. I can't remember the last time I got into an actual altercation on the street. I think the last time I got into an altercation on the street was I was living in LA for a couple of years. I owned a juice cafe out there, and I was up at the kitchen where we worked, which was in North Hollywood, and it was kind of a sketch neighborhood. And we walked out late at night, taking like some of my employees taking the trash out, and I walk out and there's this guy that broke into this girl that worked for me. He broke into her car, and I caught him mid-act, and I just kind of knocked on the window. I'm like, hey, bro. I'm like, get out of the car. And then he climbs out the window on the opposite side and tries taking off running from me. And I was immediately like, oh, sweet, man, foot pursuit. Like, this is going to be fun.
Right.
And I end up subduing this guy, and there's a whole story to that. But like, that was probably the last time that I ended up getting in any kind of altercation on the street. And it was amazing to me, just like how you were talking about the paintball game, is how efficient and quickly you guys are. It's like when you're fighting somebody on the street that's not trained.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like I felt like Neo in the Matrix. Like they went to throw a punch, and I'm like,
that's
really?
Right.
Like it was so slow to me because there's so many tells and different body, like the way that the body mechanics move and whatnot if you're not trained. And it was just, So the thought of actually getting into a fight with somebody who's really untrained it's unfair.
Well, it boils it back all the way down to a predator and prey kind of deal, because natural instinct, if something takes off running, whatever it is it made it do, it's going to want to chase it.
Yeah,
we're taught that as kids. Yeah. I mean, it's ingrained in us. That's a thing. When people are like, "Why he took off running? Why'd you chase him?" Because he freaking took off running. I don't know, right?
Because God designed me that way.
Yeah, it's like you can't help it.
There's my DNA,
man. That's part of it. Like some of us came down here to have to do it. There's Everyone is unique in their fingerprint, man. No one's the same height or color or anything like that. And each one of those personalities. I'm not saying there's not similar things down here, but that's hilarious. I can't even remember the last one I got into, man. Tell you the truth, I'd have to think about it. But you get to that age, so you turn around teaching part now. God kind of did that too. I walked that warrior path, traditional martial arts, like, you know, to be the warrior in the beginning, at the end. Man, I'm a gardener. It was either a painter, poet, or gardener, right? But I do the garden part, and it's so I love it. Raising the kids and trying to be to this part. I'm trying to get to the point to where I don't think about it. Like, do you think about fighting every day?
No.
This is the Team Never Quit podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.